afternoon or evening, depending when you're watching this video, as usual, wherever you live and whatever the time of day it is. Here in front of us we have a thunderpole 5 that I opened last night. I was going to open it yesterday and put it up, but it was quite, well, it wasn't a storm here, but very high winds and rain, so I didn't bother. Today's been very similar, maybe not quite so windy, but it has rained. So here we have a thunderpole 5, 3 sections being fiberglass, and the top section is a stainless steel whip, similar to what you'd have on a mobile antenna, you know, something in a mag mount, but no coil. It's just a piece of metal, really. I have measured these, except for the whip. I've measured, we'll come on to the measurements of that in a moment. That's how I received it. Now, I thought there was a fault with it, because I did watch somebody else's video, and in the bag full of parts here you get 2 grub screws. Now, it didn't turn out there was two grub screws. In fact, there was none in there, but in the end of this section where you put the whip in, this grub screw was deep inside, so you couldn't see there was actually a grub screw there, and the other one was poking out the same as it is there. So I was under the illusion I was missing a grub screw, and when I tried to insert the whip into the end, it wouldn't go all the way down. I couldn't see it appearing here, so I presume that the hole hadn't been drilled out correctly on the end. But it does turn out, I sent Thunderpole an email last night, early hours of this morning before I went to bed, and when I woke up they sent me an email back saying they put them in at the factory. So if I have a closer examination, I'll probably find that it is in there, and they were correct, it was in there. But to me, because it was so deep inside, it did actually look, at first glance, if my video camera will focus, that I was missing a grub screw. But I wasn't, it was actually embedded deep inside, very deep. So that's that one. It appears that I've got to pull this plastic down here and put nuts and bolts through. A bit of home assembly there, look, I've got to do. So that's going to be pulled down, 3 bolts put through, locking ring and nut the other side, similar to a silver rod. It does look quite well constructed, I must admit. There you have it. Now, whether that's stainless steel, brushed aluminium, what it is, I really don't know. The SO is it 239 at the end there, female socket. Now, I've measured these, I've just measured these sections, apart from the stainless steel whip. Let's just show you the other end there. It appears to be very good quality, very thick. So that's that, and then it comes with a bag full of parts, as I said, and it comes with a chart telling you how to put it together. And then on the back it comes with measurements for cutting the whip down for a particular band or frequency that you wish to use this antenna on. There you are, look. So there's your measurements for my whip, will be 27,500, so it'll be 32 inches. I've got to cut this down too. Now I've got to hunt around in the dark in sheds with a torch to try and find where my bolt croppers are to cut the whip with, because it's hard work with a hacksaw. So that's the first job I've got to do. I'm going to assemble this tonight so it's all ready for action, and if I can get up early enough in the morning and it's not raining too much because I'm at work, I'll start back to work in a couple of days, my first shift for 5 months. Still getting the chest pains on and off, but the doctor apparently says, oh, it's because we're getting older, you can expect pains and aches and all that. So we won't go into my health issues, I've spoke about this enough. Anyway, that first big main section with the where you clamp it to your pole there with the U-bolts, with these U-bolts, that's 2 inches under, well, roughly 2 inches under 5 feet. The next section, the middle section, this is actually 1 inch under 4 feet. Alright, I've measured it. And the next section, which is the last fiberglass section, the third section, is actually just under 5 feet by 2 inches, that one. And then the final one's going to be 32 inches, because I'm going to cut that to 32 inches for 27,500. which is the stainless steel whip. So there you have it. Now at the moment I do want to, during this video I'm going to be extremely boring and talk about antennas and what's best and what isn't best, and my personal views, not based on scientific evidence but based on my findings over the last 30 years of almost continually being on the 11 metre band. I haven't had really stupidly expensive antennas. I've made dipoles, I've made T2LTs, I've played around with an antenna analyzer, and I've learnt a little bit. I'm definitely no expert, and somewhere down the line people will probably criticise what I'm going to say, and people sometimes get tetchy with antennas. They all have their own stubborn view, and I'm not trying to change your view. Whatever your view is, you're entitled to it. That's what makes us individual people. If you like black cars and I like white cars, who's right and who's wrong? It's just your choice. However, I got a comment on my YouTube channel on one of my videos from long ago. It's probably a year ago. Can't remember the person's name. It wasn't well, I could find out what the name is, but I don't want to spotlight somebody. I don't want to run them down. But all them A99s, you may as well chuck a piece of wire out your window. 18 gauge welding wire or something he put. He didn't favour the A99, but as I'm going to try and explain, not necessarily prove him wrong, but explain, I think these 11 metre antennas, if it's a half wave end fed, there's not a lot between them. People argue the 5/8 wave is good for DXing, but you see, I've spoke to Australia on a half wave, what was bent, a half wave high gain silver rod, what was bent as a banana. It really should have been took down and threw in the bin. I spoke to Australia when we was on a lift. Somebody's calling on the radio there. To continue this, yes, I spoke to Australia, and in that week I spoke to Zimbabwe, South Africa, I spoke to New York, Buffalo, and that was on a whistle, 45 watts out of a Mark 1 President Lincoln into a bent high gain half wave silver rod. So if people's philosophy on a 5/8 wave is for DXing, you only want a half wave for local town work, then obviously that's not right, is it? I'll try and point out further in this conversation, if anybody's interested, the most important thing about an antenna system, it's not your antenna, it's your location. But I will continue this video. I just want to switch to my radio. Sorry for jiggly camera action. I am hand holding the camera with my opposite hand to what I write with, so I do try my best. I know it's not good, but right. My background noise, there's my A99, and that's my permanent background noise. It's just under a 7, S7 on this radio. If I put a different radio on, it'd be slightly different, but we'll go off this radio as a reference. IPO's not in, RF, there's no RF gain on the radio, nothing's being held back, that's everything. That's my average static S7 on FM with no one talking. Okay, I'll turn the squelch down so you can hear. No one's talking. That's what I have to put up with. I'll do this as a reference now for when I do have this thunderpole 5 up. I shouldn't think it'll be a lot different. I'll end this part 1 video here. Part 2's to come shortly, and I'll stitch them together. So back again, part 2. There will be a part 3, which is hopefully tomorrow when I put the antenna up. Please excuse all the noise in the background and the wobbly camera. I've just tried to mount it, but unfortunately I haven't got an external mic, so my mouth has to be somewhere near the back end of the camera. So I could put it in a fantastic place to pick me and the radio up, but unfortunately I'm too far from the mic to be picked up enough to hear. But I've just basically got the antenna, the thunderpole 5. I've spent 45 minutes putting it together. That may seem like a long time, but I'm a bit meticulous when I do these jobs. I put Vaseline. I haven't got any grease, else I would have used grease, but on all the threaded joints I've put Vaseline. Made sure I've nipped them up, not over tight, but give them a bit of a tightening up, because when that thing's lashing around up there, I don't want to. I've never had a joint come undone on my Antrim 99. I've used that for probably 8 years now, on and off. And when I've took it down, I've left it just lent up a garden fence. I haven't actually never disconnected the joints. I've got a fan heater on in the background because when I came in here it was only 8 degrees. It's 15 now, so it's a bit more tolerable. Getting back to my earlier conversation, my last video I did on this channel, I was fortunate enough to speak to Roy in Corsica. Adrian 2121 initially got through and then patched me through, but I have spoke to Roy on several occasions on the same antenna in the same location. In this year 2018 I've already spoke to him twice, and probably 3 times last year. Nothing new, quite a lot of people have spoken to him, but the point I want to make is this. At that particular time last week when I spoke to him, if there was a superior team of people standing by with ladders like a Formula 1 pit crew, what changed tyres, but in this case aerials, if they rushed up the ladders and changed that aerial during that period, that half-hour period that I was hanging around the frequency to speak to Roy, I wouldn't put my life on it, but I would put money on it. If you've got any half-wave antenna that was SWR'd in, got it erected, got it on the pole quick, during that half hour of that particular moment in time, whether it be the silver rod, the Antrim 99, Sirio Game Master, I mean Roy was coming in quite strong, he was on a 9 to a 10. I would have heard him, and I'm sure I would have spoke to him on the power that I was using, and there would not have been a significant difference. Now getting back to what I was saying earlier, really a lot depends more not on your antenna you're using, more on the location that you're at. Obviously the height and how the antenna is situated on your house or in your garden or what it's near to, that's an influence also. But there's too many people out there in this world, and I've seen these little arguments on these forums. I tend to shy away from them. I can't be bothered with all the bullshit on there any longer. Oh, A99 rubbish aerial, blah blah blah. Now I've spoke all around the world on one of them, and I'm not on about with 1,000 watts, 500 watts, or even 300 watts, or even 200, less than 100. I've spoken all around the world on an A99 and a half-wave silver rod, and I've also had some damn fine copies on very low power with a T2LT from this very location. Now this location I consider rubbish, and I'll tell you why. I'm on sideband now. If you look at my my meter, when nobody's talking I'll take it off frequency. £4. That's with nobody talking on this frequency, S4. There you go. Now if I flick my mode to FM, that will instantly become 6 or 7. Right, so we'll put it on FM. That's on FM. Now down here at 27,250, it's not quite as high. On the Muppet block 27.78, it is 7, just under 7 at this moment in time. It's just 5 on there, because we've come down in frequency. And there you go, it's gone down a slight bit to 4 on lower sideband and 4 on upper sideband. So that's what I have to contend with. And if I speak to anybody, if they don't come over to 4, I know they're talking, but I don't hear what they're saying. That's down to my location, not the antenna. I've had 6 different antennas up in here. I'm going to try another one shortly, a Tornado, but to be honest, for all the trouble it'll be putting it together and getting it up to clear the roof, the radials to clear the roof, I honestly don't think it'll be any better than the one I'm going to put up tomorrow, all being well, the thunderpole 5. They're much of a muchness. More depends on the band condition. I'm telling you this from my experience. I'm no expert, but this is what I've found over my 30 years on CB. Between FM and sideband there is a difference. Ground wave, where your signal's going out, well, along the ground basically, and you haven't got a lift on, it's just aerial to aerial. You've got a lot of obtrusions, obstructions, countless things to interfere with your signal these days. Even LED lights. I drove my van about 6 months ago, and I've noticed around my area where I live, they've got LED lights, and when you drive underneath them with your radio on, you get like a bzzzt, bzzzt, you know. Your aerial, there's sensitive things high up on poles, on T and K brackets, that they've got to be influenced. I mean, You climb up down a set of ladders to the height of your area, or whatever it be, and you're going to be on a par or slightly above those street lamps. It's got to cause some influence. I'm not saying it's going to wipe you out, but it's got to cause some influence. So the conclusion in this house that I've lived in for 5 years, this static I get has always been the same. I've done the obvious tests. I've turned the electric off in the house, tried it on a car battery. Maybe it's a little bit less, but nothing's right time. But I live next door to a school, so I've always jumped to the conclusion, which I may be wrong. The school has these devices plugged in to the mains, and they can just plug anything into the mains, a computer, to get the internet via the mains, as opposed to the airwaves like you do in your house with a router. So that's that one sorted. I sit here many a time, and Adrian speaks to people that I can't hear. 9 times out of 10 they always hear me, but I can't have a conversation with them because I can't hear them. Right? Now Adrian is 1 mile away. He's in a very good spot. He hasn't got loads of houses like I have around me. He did a bit better at school. He's he's got a bit of land attached to his house, and he's not in a typical built-up area with loads of houses and interference. So I know I could get in my car now. I've got a little Red Devil on a mag mount that physically, if you was to measure it, the height of my car is probably 6 feet to the roof. That's where the coil is. It's a Red Devil, quarter wave antenna. It's only a short thing. What would it be? 6 foot, 5 foot, 5 foot, between 5 and 6 feet. I can drive 10 miles to where I call the secret location in Hartshill, Nuneaton, Warwickshire. I can talk 70 miles on FM, and I've done it several times, to near Grimsby, which is roughly speaking, as a crow flies, about between 65 and 75 miles on 20 watts. No big burner, no 300 watts or nothing, and that's off a poxy little 20 quid aerial, a quarter wave, that's only 6 feet off the ground on the roof of my car. So with all the things that I've thought about over time, there's more influential things than what CB aerial you've got attached to your pole. There really is. I think most half-wave antennas are much of a muchness, and as I said earlier, I've spoken all around the world on a half-wave, so you'll hear the other argument there. Oh, you want a 5/8 wave for DXing? Load of crap. I'm telling you, it's a load of crap. The cycle, is it 9 or 11 years? I couldn't argue the toss because I can't remember. Because I'm 53 and I started CB when I was 17, I think I was. Got my first AM set. Bit of history. I have obviously been on the radio when there's been peaks on, and I think there's been 3 in my lifetime. In my CB duration, there's been 3 peaks. I've spoken to a lady 10 miles from where I lived at the time, not here, just down the road, another house I lived at. I was talking to her and she had about 60 watts on. I said, turn your power down. She had a Kenwood. I said, turn your power down, you don't need that much power to talk to me. I'm only 10 miles away from you. We was on sideband, somewhere around 27,535. This is about 28, 30 years ago. There was a lift on, you know, when we were at the top of the cycle. And she turned the power down, turned it down, turned it down. She got down to, I think she says it's just peaking on 10 watts. I said, that's more than enough to talk to me. And then all of a sudden a guy piped up and says, I can still hear you. And she says, where are you? And he says, I'm in New York, Buffalo, New York. She didn't believe him. She gave out a PO box number of the local club she was in, and the guy sent her a QSL card from Buffalo, New York. So there you go, 10 watts at the back of a, what was it? It was a I think it was a Kenwood for 430, I think it was. HF set, 0 to 100 watts, 0 to 30 megahertz. And I spoke to him also, and I was using 10 watts. I had a manky silver rod, half wave high game. She had an A99 at the time. Everybody was raving about the things. So there you go. So from all my lessons of history, I know now, with my experience, I can jump in my car, I can talk to nearly everybody on this midweek net without a burner. 20 watts out the back of me Anytone on sideband. I'll speak to nearly everybody on this network. Yeah, in my house here, because I get the interference, yeah, I could pump 100 watts out, they'll all hear me. But if you can't hear somebody, you can't speak to them. It's as simple as that. So your location is a very important factor. In fact, it's more important than what poxy half-wave aerial. So all these silly arguments I see saying, oh, this aerial's better than that one, load of crap. I bought Serio Game Master, 130 quid delivered, because everybody was going on about them, and I jumped on the bandwagon. Put it up on a pole expecting great things. Locally the signals were up, so it influenced me to think that this aerial is better. It is better. Good aerial. I had a switcher box. I also had my old A99 that I'm using that's currently up, that I'm going to take down tomorrow. I had that 17 foot across the house above my back kitchen door, exactly the same height. Admittedly, before anybody sends me a comment saying, oh, the coax was different lengths, yes it was. It was about 8 foot longer. And also, how's this one for you? 2 aerials on the back of the house, about roughly 18 feet apart. I haven't measured them, but roughly 18 feet apart. And there's a guy what comes on 10 miles away. On my A99, I know he's talking, but I can't hear a word he's saying. Obviously because of my interference, most of it is. On the other antenna, above the kitchen door, 18 feet away, the silver rod, I can hear him as clear as a bell, £7. Now if I switch aerials, which I have done, and I put the A99 above the kitchen door, I can hear him just the same. But now on the silver rod on the corner of the house, I can't hear him, and that's just repositioning an antenna 18 foot from where it was, 18 foot across the back of the house. That's just to one person. So in my mind, without getting into these little nitty gritties of what antenna you're using, to finish what I was saying earlier was the Serio Game Master. It turned out I had a switcher box, and at the same time I had an A99 18 foot away from that above my kitchen door. The Serio Game Master was on the corner of the house where my A99 is now, and I got a switcher box, two-way switcher box, and I was listening to a guy in Italy, flicked over to the Serio, crackly noise, couldn't quite make out what he was saying, flicked to the A99, could hear him as clear as a bell, slightly lower signal. That didn't just happen on that man, it happened on several people. Next day got ladders, took it down, lost 50 quid and sold it, the Serio. I wasn't impressed. I was more impressed with a 6 quid, roughly speaking, that's what the coax cost, T2LT. I left that up for 9 months. I had some fantastic signals, the low noise, the background hiss, your background ambient noise at the time seemed lower. But so tomorrow, all being well, if it's raining, if it's spitting, I'll still do it. If it's a little bit windy, I'll still do it, unless it's really bad gusts and dangerous to get up ladders, because I've got to take 2 antennas down, join the 2 13-foot poles together, put the aerial on the end, and then put that up. So that's the plan of action tomorrow, all being well. And then I'll start work next day, the first time for 5 months since my heart attack. So yeah, to summarise, all these silly little squibbly arguments that, oh, my A99's better than your silver rod, or my, I don't know, Tornado's better than this and that's better than that, it's a load of crap. You get yourself in a good location and get the worst aerial you can put up, and you're still going to boom out and receive people. I can't speak for the old Vectra 4000, never had one. I used to rate the Serio 2012s years ago, never owned one. I've operated on people's aerials in their houses, but there was a man who was very strong, I'm not going to name him, a local guy to me, very, very strong. You could hear him, it didn't matter where you were in your car, obviously within reason. If you drove to Scotland 300 miles away, you're not going to hear him, but wherever you were, he was a very powerful station. And people go, oh, this is when CB was at its greatest, late 80s. Oh, what antenna are you using? Serio 2012. Oh, and it's, how high is it? Oh, it's 40 foot. What he failed to tell you was he was using 300 watts all the time on FM. So that aerial was a good aerial, I'm sure it was, but I'm sure if you just stuck a silver rod up with 300 watts all the time, it still would have been a good aerial. So the moral to this little yabbling on rant I've been doing is basically, don't get too involved in these stupid arguments about this antenna's better than that one, because I'm telling you now, the more important thing is where you live, your location and what's around you. If you're fortunate enough to live in a house in the country, not in a massive built up area, housing estate scenario where there's everything to cause interference. If you can't remember this, you can get the biggest burner money can buy. Everyone for a 100-mile radius will hear you, but if you can't hear that person, you can't talk to that person. And if you change that aerial like I'm going to tomorrow, I've got no disputing that aerial's not going to be better than my old 8-year-old Antrim 99. Not because the A99 is a better aerial, it's because I received this crap. And to a degree, whatever aerial I think you stuck on that pole, it wouldn't make a lot of difference in my location. So I'll stop my rant. I'm sure I don't want to make this controversial, and as I said from the start, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I haven't used any scientific formulas, measurements or anything else in this conversation. You know, just my 30 years of experience. I haven't forked out on great money on great aerials for one reason. I know when there's a lift on, I've spoken to a guy in Australia on a bent silver rod, half wave, and it did the job. But we're at the peak of the cycle, the 11 or 9 year cycle. When that comes back again, I think we're at the bottom or just climbing out the bottom at the moment. So it's going to be another, I don't know, 9 years, isn't it? Till you can switch your radio on and be bombarded by the Italians every day and stuff, which is what happens. I haven't heard the States personally I have heard them in the last 5 years, but I haven't heard them for a couple of years personally. Adrian probably has on other bands, but I'm on about 11 metres. Anyway, this is part 2. Part 3 of this video, hopefully I will have got the aerial up and you'll see it's blowing around in the wind, and then you'll see what my let's get this radio. I've got a reference, haven't I? We know it's a 7 around the Muppet block. Hang on, let's get it in the memory mode. Get it to
what's kindly agreed.
Right, let's see what my 951. There you go, look. S6 today. It's normally just under the 7, so we'll use that as a reference for when my new antenna's up. There will be a difference. It won't be an equivalent identical scenario, because I'm going to try and get the other aerial 10 foot higher, so it should improve maybe my receive a little bit. Not because the aerial's going to be any better, it's just purely height on FM. Height is might on FM, not necessarily on USB. But you all take care. I'll stitch this one to the last video and then stitch this one hopefully after this. In a moment you're going to see the aerial blown around in the wind if all goes well tomorrow. Right, part 3. Take that aerial down. What's a bit bent after the storms last week. Still a bit blustery and looks like it's going to rain, but that's a silver rod, 10k brackets. It's a bit dark. 13 foot pole, got to nick that pole and then budumph, take that one down, the A99, nick that pole, join the 2 poles together with Shelley clamps, and then put my new antenna up, which is just waiting. Catch you in a minute, part 4.
We all know that.
Right, the new antenna, Tim's talking to me at the moment, so
Thunderpole 5 at the time was here on
it's coming over strong. My background noise, maybe it's just a coincidence, but my aerial's 10 foot higher than what my A99 was, and my background noise is now on a 4, not nearly a 7, as you will see in a moment. Yes mate, yeah, so well, we've got to watch this space and see what gives, haven't we? I'm going to be quiet, Tim, because I just heard a voice in the background and I think I've got a cup of tea and I think I deserve it, so I'm only going to go out there, grab my tea and come back in here, so I'm not going to really miss a lot. So carry on with Phil, Frank, and whoever else is out there, mate. Oh, well, Gary's on there as well, isn't he? So yeah, and my SWR, according to the radio, I haven't actually checked it with a meter, but the meter in the radio, which of course is not, it's not a Maxcom 4E, it's a Yaesu 450, says it's says 1.5 keyed up on this channel. I haven't tried it yet round the band to see how the SWR is. I don't expect the coverage to be as good as a 99, but carry on mate with Phil and Frank and Gary. I'll be back shortly with a fresh cup of tea.
No problem. Definitely it won't be as good as the A99 from that point of view. Alright, no problem. Right, who wants to call?
So there's Timmy boy, he's coming on a plus 20. He's not that far away, he's probably, as the crow flies, about 4 miles. But my static, look, sounds like sideband. That is sideband. Hang on, what's going on here? Maybe it's not sideband. Anyway, there's my static now, look. It's gone from a 7 down to about a 3. But obviously I'm getting intermittent stick off somebody. There you go, look. I've never seen it so low. Blimey. But the aerial, I must admit this now, the aerial is in the same location as the 99, but it's 10 feet higher. It's quite high. I'm hoping it S2, S3. I've never seen it that low. Now, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? And what I mean by that is it lower because it doesn't receive as well as the 99, or is it the 10 feet higher from the house? The only thing I'm not happy about with is I've had to put a joint, one of those female joint connectors in, and extend the coax by a good 12 feet. So at some point I'll do a rough measurement of what I think I'll need, and I'll order one piece of coax. But I have actually got low loss coax. Most of it, apart from the last 10 foot, is the thick low loss coax. But I'm impressed with that so far, with my noise level going down. Look at that, it's below a 3. Never seen it that low. I'll get it back onto Tim and all them. That's Frank in his lorry. I don't know where he is.
Oh, the thing is, Frank, not just that, but they've got to pay you to do this as well, haven't they? If you pay by the load, that's one load. If you go out,
right then, I'll go out and actually show the aerial while it's still erected. And I have to say, the gusts of, while I was connecting poles and everything, it started raining. And I thought, here we go, I'm in for a soaking. Then it stopped raining. And then when I got up the ladders, really powerful gusts of wind started coming. And I had some touch and go moments, I must admit. Probably the hardest installation I've ever done. But everybody seems to be coming over very well.
Oh, I see. So you only get paid out when you're doing stupid things like up and down sort of hills.
Sorry about the shaky arm. So it's settling on a 4, look, basically. Just slightly over a 3. Which, as this video should show earlier, on the A99 it was nearly a 7. Look at that, looks down to 1 digit over 3. I'm impressed with the background noise anyway, whether that's because it's not receiving quite as good, or is it because I've put the aerial up 10 foot higher, away, further from the house as it were. I'll just show you the aerial and we'll close this video, and I can't give any results till I've used it for, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks. I spoke to lots of people, because all these people are within a 10-mile radius. So till we've been on the old sideband and various other places, I won't get a true impression. I haven't gone through the bands to see how good the SWR is yet either. I don't expect it to be as good as the A99. That had fantastic coverage, but it is my theory that one what's quite narrow banded and doesn't cover as much tends to work better than one what's covers loads of bands. How well you can see this, but the antenna now, I had to extend the cable and used a bit of cable I had with the bellum. I wasn't planning on doing that with the ugly choke, which is there. I don't know if this will focus because the sunlight's coming from an angle. But there's the antenna. Can't see the top section, it's just a whip. Camera can't even focus, I don't think. I'm zoomed in quite a lot. There's the antenna. Joint two 13-foot poles joined together, and that's on my T&K brackets on the side of the house. Like I say, the sunlight is having an effect on my camera. Well, there it is, how it's going to withstand the wind and everything, but so far it's looking good. We'll see what happens, and the moon's out as well. Lovely blue sky, and the moon's out over there. Not that I can see it. Where are you, little devil? Huh. Somewhere in there is the moon, but half a moon. Can't seem to get it on camera for some reason. Oh, there it is. I think I just saw a man then on the moon. Thanks for watching. Take care, you all. 73s for now from 26 Bravo Delta 33.